Anything to discuss?
In the story of Buddha, they said that he went out before an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a monk. So monks do exist. Even before when Buddha did not actually found this before method of progressing in growth, so monks do exist already.
Yes. All the time, like in India, you have what they call renunciants, different types of renunciants. Some don't wear robe at all, some are naked ascetics. Some will wear robes, different styles. It's a tradition, because to dye the robes, normally ascetics, they collect the rag robes from corpses, from the roadside and all that. And then they need to dye it a certain color to identify themselves. So they use the wood of trees, like the jackfruit tree. In Thailand they still do. They cut the jackfruit jackfruit tree wood into pieces. They boil it until it becomes thick. Then they soak the cloth in there, you will soak the color. So that is sometimes they call it the ochre color. Ochre robes instead of yellow robes. It's not really yellow, it's like this, brownish.
Okay. I think there's a discrepancy between the earlier reality and higher. So if there's no consistency, then other people will be very confused.
Yes, that's why you have to study more. When you study more, then you will find that like this sutta, talking about the 32 marks of a great man, it's not important. It doesn't help you to become enlightened. So you just ignore it. What is helpful, which is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, then we take notice. Suttas like this, you find that you can tell if you are experienced enough. If you are not experienced enough, then you can't judge. So you have to study the suttas again and again. Then when you can understand the suttas, then you know what is essential. Yes, even though it's recognized because it's passed through different hands for thousands of years, 2,500. So like this, is the percentage of it is very low.
During the background, I think some few methods between the king and the ordinary person.
So, I don't get your point.
So if let's say he's enjoying life for peace and he goes to life, so it's good for a little person to be a rich man's.
We actually, as far as other Buddhas are concerned, we find in the other suttas, the Buddha does not talk about in detail about other Buddhas. So from this sutta, you find that many things are actually from the Buddha's life story. So they have taken it from there and put inside here. That's why certain things also certain things you find it's hard to believe, like that the baby is just born and he can take 7 steps and proclaim that he's highest in the world and all these things. It's just logic. So as far as life of luxury is in the Vinaya books. The Buddha said when he was young, his father was rich, and not only the Buddha, even other disciples of the Buddha, I think like Anuruddha, also described that his parents were very rich and built 3 mansions for him. So the Buddha also the same. The father built 3 mansions for him for the 3 different seasons. So it's just like some people come from a very rich family nowadays. That's all. Because you don't need it, ma. During the Buddha's time, were there any Buddha statues? No Buddha statues. And Buddha statues appeared in India, starting in Gandhara, 500 years after the Buddha's passing away. And the Buddha foretold that his true Dhamma will last for 500 years, meaning it is unpolluted for 500 years. And after 500 years, you find the Mahayana books appeared, and also the Hinayana books like Abhidhamma and commentaries and later books like Visuddhimagga and all these things. So because of wrong view that people, instead of the Buddha's teaching is that we must strive ourselves. You can't pray to somebody for help. So the purpose of Buddha statues is for you to pray for help. So we don't pray for help, so why should we need Buddha statues? To pray to Buddha statues shows wrong view. That is because of India. The Buddhas are supposed to be born in India, and that is a special place. So we face that direction when we bow down. Better, to me, it's better to face India and bow than to face a statue and bow.
At the beginning of the talk, you mentioned that 99.9% is Pajika Buddha.
Yeah.
And only a very small amount would like to be Sammasambuddha. And from your other talk, you mentioned that the only difference between a Sammasambuddha and a Pajika Buddha is that a Pajika Buddha does not teach, but he knows exactly the same as the Sammasambuddha. Is there any support for that in the sutta? Because I heard some others say that the Pajika Buddha does not know exactly as a Sammasambuddha, and he cannot teach.
Is there any support for that in the sutta? But in the suttas and the Vinaya books, we find that the Buddha, our Buddha, Sakyamuni Buddha, he, as this last sutta mentioned, when he contemplated the beings in the world, he found that the beings in the world, we like to follow our tendencies, and our tendencies, meaning our greed, hatred and delusion. And to cultivate the spiritual path, you are going against your natural tendencies. Just like to swim upstream. To swim upstream the river is extremely difficult. To follow the stream and flow along the river and go downstream is very easy. So most beings, we want to choose the easy path. We just follow our tendencies and let the stream of life carry us. We don't know where we are going, we just keep going. But the spiritual path is to swim upstream, to go to the source. And that is very difficult. So even our Buddha, Sakyamuni, in the Vinaya books, it is mentioned that he determined not to teach. And then this Mahabrahma came down and pleaded with him, because this Mahabrahma was a monk in the previous life, under the previous Buddha, Kassapa. So he could recognize when the Sammasambuddha appeared. So he pleaded with the Buddha 3 times. Then the Buddha contemplated again and then decided to teach. That shows if the Buddha did not teach, he would have become a Pacheka Buddha. So he's the same person whether he teaches or he doesn't teach. Just that one moment he decides not to teach, another moment he decides to teach. So isn't it the same?
How come the previous Buddhas from example 91 eras before were in the same they were Brahmins as well? How come?
No, according to the sutta we just read, some of them were from the Khattiya clan, the warrior caste, and some of them were from the Brahmin caste. That is hard to say. It might not be true. Since we already said that a lot of things in this sutta cannot be believed, so probably that was just a conjecture.
There was a sutta in another hospital, so 50% of the road that you will find food and Buddha will pass, and 100% of the road that you will find food. If the Buddha knows this fact, then one person is either 3 times by this
Mahabrahma. Yes, he knows, but he also knows that every person has his time. Every person has his time. And there's an Indian saying, when the disciple is ready, the master will appear. So, because each person has our own time, when your time is due, you will meet the teacher. We all progress in stages. You see, even the Buddha taught the Dhamma. How many people became enlightened? How many people became Arya? How many people interested in his teaching? Not many. Like nowadays, you have the Buddha's words in the Nikayas. How many people bothered to read and understand? Very few. So it's because very few people are interested that most Buddhas, even though they know there are some people are interested, but then to go around looking for disciples is not easy. One day when you become enlightened, then you tell me whether you should teach or you should not teach. It will be like 99.9% of them. No, you won't teach. No.
The Buddha Nikaya, they mentioned that the Buddha, when he is old and he wants to contemplate, then he can go again. So he not really contradict the Buddha Nikaya.
Say again.
In the Buddha Nikaya, the Buddha mentioned that when he was young and he an old person, he not contemplate that one day he will go to Istanbul and he not shade of old person.
Yes. Yeah, I mentioned that it's ridiculous that he has to go out to see an old man, to see a sick man and all that. You don't have to go anywhere, you can see it in your own family.
Because in 1.7, he mentioned in the time of the Lord Buddha, the lifespan was 80,000 years. Then in the character 2 and 5, after many hundreds of thousands of years, how can we live hundreds of thousands of years and thousands of years?
Yeah, contradiction. Yeah, it's okay.
There are so many services, the concept of our Buddha, and also the origins of Buddha. Probably one was to inform the fresh students the history of Buddha,
You see, these contradictions, they only appear in such suttas which try to praise the Buddha or the Bodhisattva and put it up on a high seat. But as far as the Dhamma is concerned, there's not much contradiction. When it comes to, the hardcore Dhamma, there's not much, there's hardly any contradiction you can find. It's only these praises of the Buddha and all that. These stories, these are stories. So you find this type of contradiction. So you can tell if you are well read in the suttas that this is so. Anyway, people who have listened to my Dhamma talks, some of them they wake up And then they realize, like Sunday school teachers teaching all the children, that when the Buddha was born, he took 7 steps and proclaimed he's the highest in the world, and all this is a bit ridiculous. So, but then it's in their syllabus. They are asked to teach like that, so it's very hard. So you find that the people who draft all these syllabus for the children and all that, they are not knowledgeable about the suttas.
The book were written 5 years after Buddha's death. And Buddha said that 500 years after his death will be concluded. So how much concluded are they? How much concluded are they?
As I just mentioned just now, the pollution is mainly in the stories. As far as the Dhamma is concerned, there is not much pollution, except in the later books like Abhidhamma, commentaries. You find in the later books like we know that the Abhidhamma and the commentaries are later, because if you look at this period, the 500 years after the Buddha's passing away, we find within this 500 years, you have this King Asoka in India. And King Asoka, he was a great supporter of the Dhamma. So he wanted people to know the Buddha's words. So he made these stone pillars. Like every kilometer by the roadside, he'll have these stone pillars. And he got these workmen to carve on the pillars the words of the Buddha. And it's mentioned now that they have dug up these pillars in India. It is mentioned that during Emperor Asoka's time, there were 5 Nikayas. Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and the Khuddaka Nikaya. Khuddaka means the minor collection or the small collection. So during the Emperor Asoka's time, it was a small collection. But from Emperor Asoka's time until now, they have added books to it. So it has become a major collection. In this Khuddaka Nikaya, we find 6 books do not contradict the earlier Nikaya. So we accept 6 books as reliable, but not the other books in the Khuddaka Nikaya. This Japanese scholar, Professor Akira Hirakawa, he has done a lot of research, and he says that our Pali Suttas, among all the suttas, our Pali Suttas are the most pure from the Emperor Asoka's time until now. It's the most pure. And then if you study the suttas, then you find that there are some little pollutions like this sutta. All those that have stories, you don't bother about. Things like the 32 marks of a great man, not important at all, doesn't help us to become enlightened. So we don't have to believe whether it's true or not. Even if it's true also, we don't bother to remember it, because it doesn't help us on the spiritual path. Shall we end here?